sure you know what I mean. Luka, Kyrie, Clay, and Spencer about to be cooking. We told Nikola run it back, and that's what he doing. They said they wanted magic, well, that's what they brewing. Lively on Max Magic, got her ready to prove it. Queen on the rap, and too much on the beat. Yeah, we 10 toes down, we stand on 2 feet. And we said Nico run it back. I think he know what we need. He said we standing on business, there's no I in team. Oh, Lord, y'all be back, we standing on business. Yeah, we back to winning this. Team back to the gym, we going hard out doing fitness. Let the haters be a witness. We made it to the finals, now we back to winning. Glow, talking to Mavs, Baltimore, Dallas, under the Philippines. You're on the right channel. These are your hosts, your boys, it's Relle and King. WTM, the feeling, send them what you think. But keep it cool and respectful. I'm sure you know what I mean. We talking the Mavs, we talk the Mavs, we talk Mavs, oh, we talk Mavs.
Yes, sir. YouTube, Glow Yard Gang, MFFL's podcast listeners all over the globe, guys. Welcome to a brand spanking new episode of We Talk Mavs. Members only edition in the building. Listen, man, y'all already know how we do this, man. Every Friday, guys, we got to show love to the members for showing love to the channel in that special way. So this is y'all's show, and we definitely appreciate y'all, man. Listen, we got a special guest in the building backstage. We're going to bring him up here in a second, but y'all already know how we do this, bro. If you're new to the channel, do us a huge favor, man, and hit that subscribe button, man, if you're into Dallas Mavericks content. And also, too, everybody, hit that like button. Let's get the likes up today, man. Help us build the algorithm up, man, to find more Mav fans like yourselves to join us here. All right, man. King, you ready to get to it, man?
I am, bro. I'm excited.
All right, man. Listen, but before we do, let's take a real quick second to show love to the sponsor of the channel.
A huge thank you goes out to Fanatics for continuing to sponsor the channel. If you're looking for the latest Mavs gear, NBA gear, or merchandise in general of any other sports team, check out Fanatics and be sure to use our custom link on the screen and always in the show's description. If you're currently watching the show, scanning the QR code on the screen is the easiest way to get the link. And Glow Yard, this season is looking to be a special one.
Yes, sir, ladies and gentlemen. It's never too late to copy some brand new merch, not only Mav merch, but merch of the teams that you root for. So listen, if there's any team that you root for, the perfect place to copy some merch is on Fanatics. Simply scroll down to the description box below, click on that link to Fanatics, or you can take a picture of that QR code there in the promo. Either way, it will take you directly to the site, y'all. So just go ahead and scroll on down, click on that link to Fanatics, and get your shop on. All right, King, let's get to it, man. Let's bring up our guest, man. Uh-oh, we got him in the building. Hold on, there we go. Got Jason Gallagher in the building, man. What's good with you, Jason?
Hey, gentlemen. How we doing? Thanks for having me.
Man, no problem, man. No problem. Hey, we good after that win last night, man. You know what I'm saying? It's something to wake up to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we love to see it. It was a great win. I mean, that's the exact kind of win Dallas needed. So excited to talk about it.
Yes, sir, man. Like I said before, we appreciate you jumping on the show. Everybody knows how big of a fan you are. You know, you at the Mav game last night. I think your son was good luck.
That's
right.
We
talked about it off stage, man. We need your son to show up to all the Mav OKC games, even in the playoffs. That'd be nice. So we get these dubs. But listen, man, just real quick, man, why don't you tell us what was your opinion of the game last night, man, being there and watching it?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, there was a real, I don't know, there's an excitement and a focus when they play Oklahoma City that for some reason, if I were an Oklahoma City fan, it would drive me insane. But for some reason, they just are insanely locked in. They executed a game plan really, really, really well. And, get it. I mean, Kyrie getting going is the key to basically everything when Luka's out. I mean, once Oklahoma City started to double team, it was essentially our shooters versus their shooters in the fourth. and our shooters knocked it down. I mean, Maxey, this is where the sort of like veteran presence of Maxey, when you put him at the nail and Kyrie is double team, you hit him at the nail, and he has the choice to pass to his left or his right. That's where he makes really good decisions. And we didn't make all of them, but he made the exact right passes. The shots were open, and we made more open threes than they did. So great game, great win. I mean, you needed that, especially after so many close losses. So I think that the team, is competing every night, which is great to see, but it's nice to manifest a win.
I compared it to the Mavericks versus Golden State, the year the Mavericks won 67 games.
Yeah.
And Golden State Warriors was that team that we were like all season we couldn't beat. And it's like, man, I don't want to play them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I compared it to that. It has that kind of vibe to it. But my question to you, Jason, is what's your overall feeling about the team right now? Like, how do you feel just with all the injuries, the circumstance? You can basically make your own grade, but how would you grade the team right now?
Oh gosh, grade. I mean, on a massive curve, I would start there and just say that it's extremely difficult to evaluate the team. I mean, they are competing every single night, and as a Mavs, and with that comes so many things. It causes players to play out of their roles and positions. And Jason Kidd, I was talking to somebody else, like Jason Kidd, you can tell, just by the fact that Edwards is starting last night, you can tell that he wants people to sort of stay in a very particular role as much as physically possible. He is coaching this team with the long term in mind, which is why, someone like Quentin Grimes isn't starting last night, because he knows that we need that sort of 6-man scoring burst from him when we are at full strength, and that's what we're gonna try our best to maintain that as we go through this sort of slog. And from that perspective, I actually really like how the Mavericks are playing. There's a contingent of Mavs fan that wants us to blow up the season and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sort of honestly, at full strength, I take this Mavs team just against anyone. They can compete against anybody. And especially when you have inexperienced teams at the top of the West, I think that they kind of like their chances against, say, a healthy Rockets team or a healthy Memphis team. I think that they like their chances. So I really am optimistic, weirdly, even though it's been a rough stretch. They've just been competing really hard. Some lapses in judgment at the end of games, but it's like all of these guys playing out of position, all of these guys learning how to play new roles, while also trying to maintain a semblance of what they would like to do in the big picture. So, yeah, I mean, I'm weirdly more encouraged by the Wolves loss. It was such a close game. And the Wolves came in extremely motivated to beat them. I mean, we get under their skin. And so for us to sort of compete, as closely as we did on that night, and then to follow it up by beating the Thunder, I mean, that's a good 2-day stretch in my view.
Ro, before you ask your question, I want to add on. I said to Ro last night, we're a missed goaltend and a Phantom Anthony Edwards call away from being 4-1 in the last 5 games.
Yeah.
And hey.
So in other words, King is saying when you go to the hole, just yell real loud, and you might call like Anthony Edwards at the end of a game.
That's a really good point. And basketball, I mean, you guys, if you've been watching the game as long as we have, it's things turn so quickly in basketball. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are Kings fans, and it's 2 months ago, the sky was literally falling. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And now it's they turned it around. It's and I think Spencer Dinwiddie said last night, they're going to have, mentally, they're going to have the best trade deadline season out of anybody, because they're going to get an MVP candidate back. You know what I mean? So I think I really am optimistic about stuff. So.
Well, Jason, I'm gonna tell you right now, I trust Luka. I think we've been saying this all season. Let's just get the kid back. I know they said it's rumored that he might be back even before the All-Star break. I would kind of want him to come back after the All-Star break, get as much rest as you can, come back 100%, not 90%, not 80%, come back 100%.
Yep.
We get Luka in that stretch run going into the playoffs. You telling me you gave Luka that much time to kind of rest and get ready, and all you gotta do is pretty much just focus on the run going into the playoffs? I take Luka all day, man.
That's what I mean. Yeah, they've shown they can win on the road. again, the teams at the top of the West are all semi-inexperienced, and a part of me is like, yeah, I mean, it makes way more sense. I mean, there's you work years and years as an organization to build a roster this good. You don't just punt the season away. Not when you have the sort of parity in the West that you do. So that's my take.
It's funny too, Jason. You said that. I told King this last night. I know maybe it was like 3 years ago. We had like a whole like bottom half of the roster. We were like, these guys really ain't playable like that. We're to the point now that even our two-way guys are playable.
Yeah.
Like you said, look at what Kessler Edwards, he was able to start yesterday and contribute to winning last night. You know what I'm saying? Him, B. Will, they were able to contribute to winning, man. I don't think I've ever seen that from this team. And kind of what you were saying with the roster build, man, you got to give credit to Nico, man. Yeah. The way Nico built this team, the talent he put on this team. I know some nights it don't look great. We lose or whatever. Like you said, the kind of tight, close games we're losing. I think PJ kind of mentioned this, I want to say like a week or two ago. He talked about the fact that having so many players out and like you said, guys playing in different roles.
Yeah.
Guys are having to try to figure out what they need to do to keep the ship afloat or whatever. And I think slowly but surely they're starting to figure that out. King has been mentioned before. Hey, they're close losses. A goaltend here, a bad call there, and we could be looking at a better record right now, But the team is, I think the team is starting to kind of get it. Kid has no choice but to play the young guys. The young guys are starting to get some confidence in themselves. We saw Omax. Omax is starting to show some signs here. But like real quick, man, what's your thoughts on like the young guys like Omax and Kessler and guys like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with both of them. I mean, it's so funny. It's like I could see Edwards last night. He blew a wide open layup. There was a moment where he blew a wide open layup, and we were sitting right behind him on the bench, and it's like no one was really upset with that because like he did all the right things to get that open layup. And like I think that's in some ways much more important. I thought he played like pretty good defense for starting out of the blue,
Yes.
And I just really liked his contributions. Omax was the player that I was like most excited about because he's got that big body and like really he's been on the team for a couple of years and you want to see him like develop. And last night he really showed a lot of like he was tough last night. I mean, in some ways that there were a couple times, I mean, what did he shoot, like 9 free throws? Because he was just barreling to the basket and there was nothing Oklahoma City could do. And it wasn't even like phantom, they had to like grab him because he was he was so just like a cannonball just going to the hoop. And it was really cool to see. So I was really encouraged by Omax because I like you said, like it feels like I really wish this guy could figure it out. And then it felt like last night he really contributed in a really, really meaningful way. He did a lot of things that Dallas really needed. He was energetic as hell. And that's the kind of energy that you need to match in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City, I go to the games and they are energetic. They usually out energize the other team. Like almost every time I watch them, it's like, you sub out Dort, you sub in Caruso, you sub out, Case and Wallace for Isaiah Joe, and it's just like guys just flying or whatever. And the fact that we have now this sort of like, these sort of lower bench guys that are coming in with that kind of energy, it was desperately needed last night. So it was great.
It just seemed like Oklahoma City, man, got this. I don't know, players like a Omax and a PJ, I guess, kind of give them problems. Those kind of like rangier wings or something like that. Like you kind of take that from that too.
For sure. Yeah. Oklahoma City's small right now. And I know a lot of Thunder fans will say, they didn't have Hartenstein and Chet. And it's a valid point simply because they got Hartenstein to address Dallas. Like literally to address them. So without those guys, they're really, really small. I mean, their biggest wing is probably Jalen Williams. And
probably Kendrick Williams.
Kinda, but like Dallas just is like longer than them. That's what it feels like. So, and there's just I don't know what it is about that matchup that gets under Oklahoma City's skin, but it just feels like they're bigger and they're able to cover more ground. That's what it feels like when you see it. And I don't care what anybody like. Look, I get in arguments with fans all the time about analytics. I'm a big believer in analytics, but this matchup is the thing that I point to and say there is a mental component to this game that you cannot quantify, that you cannot write down. And this matchup is that, because Oklahoma City on paper last night was the better team, no question. But for some reason, Dallas just feels really good going in there, and Oklahoma City looks off for some reason. So,
while ago, Relle, we have a lot of polarizing folks on our team. Kyrie, Luka, Jason Kidd. I'll stop there, Jason Kidd, and ask you this question: what's your opinion on Jason Kidd as far as a coach? Do you feel like he's the right guy? Do you think that he's a player development coach? Do you trust his X's and O's? Like, how do you feel about Jason Kidd as a coach and the coach of the Mavericks?
So I'm pro Jason Kidd. It was it took a little bit for me to get there, but as I started to work within this space of getting to know players, and the guy that I used to do a podcast with is coach of the Lakers now. It's like kind of having an understanding that coaching, there's so many elements to coaching. There's the X's and O's part, but then there's also do the guys in the locker room like trust your word? Do you have the locker room kind of thing? How do you communicate with fans? How do you communicate? Like all of it, you're the representative of the whole team. And there are parts that I don't love about Jason Kidd. I don't think he's necessarily great at explaining weird losses and whatever, but ultimately he has the locker room and he has the guys coming out motivated to play. And that is like, I can't tell you enough how much of an accomplishment that is for a coach. And I think gets really overlooked when it comes to Dallas. When they poll different national writers, he's never like a top 10 coach to anybody. But I just, you really, to consistently, you said it. We have polarizing guys on this team. We have guys that other teams couldn't figure out how to make work. And he's got Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic on the same page, excited to come to work and play with each other every day. In that respect, It's like, dude, stay as long as you want. We'll figure it out from there. Now, his X's and O's, I mean, it's one of those things, like, I think he really game plans for the ideal version of this team. And then, when that sort of falls by the wayside, that's kind of the difference between him and Rick Carlisle a little bit. And it's like, Rick Carlisle was an amazing X's and O's coach. And he would maximize whatever the talent was that was on the court on a given time.
Yes.
And Kidd does that, but he still puts people into buckets. Like Dinwiddie's a great example. Dinwiddie, he almost looks at the game like a football chart. He goes like, Dinwiddie is in the QB position. He's our QB3 basically. And never going to go out of that position. Grimes is always going to be sort of a specialty player. So he's going to stay there. And if somebody gets injured ahead of him, I'm going to keep him in that bucket. Yep. And I'm going to start Kessler Edwards because we need our guys to stay in their buckets. And I don't hate that strategy in a long term. I mean, he's coaching for a championship. He's not coaching for a random Tuesday night win. And that to me is why ultimately I do like Jason Kidd, as long as he keeps the locker room. I mean, there's not much to complain about. So that's my bit. I am pro Jason Kidd on that front. And, and if you ask anybody, even the smartest people within the locker room, they'll say like, he's got the locker room, and that's really all you can want. And I think it was Bobby Caralla who said, like, if you want a great X's and O's coach, that's someone like Rick Carlisle. Well, Luka couldn't stand Rick Carlisle and probably would have left now if Rick Carlisle was still the coach. So you take what, there's no coach that's perfect, but I like the positives of what Jason Kidd brings.
So I'm gonna say, I was just like you, Jason. I was not on board with Jason Kidd. I wanted Jamal Mosley when we first were looking for a coach. It took some time.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, they kill him 24/7, no matter what he do. He can get you a win, and they'll still be like, nah, this kid, fire him or whatever. I'm one of those people too. Like, I take you game by game with Jason Kidd, but overall, he's okay with me. Like you said, I seen some lists who don't have him top 10. I think we always mention on the show he's at least top 8 in our opinion. For you to get a team to the Western Conference Finals 2 out of the 3 years and into the finals, I mean, you got to give the guy some kind of credit. Saying something happened there for that he contribute to it. It's not just the players or whatever. He has to get some credit for that too. So I 100% agree. I'm gonna ask you a question, man. It's almost February. And you know what happens in February? Trade deadline. Do you feel like this team needs to make a move, or do you feel like they need to stay pat and try to get healthy?
I'm on the latter side of things. I think they just need to get healthy. It's a really good unit. I mean, that's just kind of it. When you think about who they're competing against, they've shown they can beat the number 1 seed in the West. I think at full strength could take just about any team in the West. The East is a little bit of a different animal, but they've sort of tried to address some of their shooting woes from last year. I just think they're a really complete team. Like I saw the rumors about Daniel Gafford. I'm like extremely against trading him. Not just because Derek Lively's hurt, even prior to that. I mean, I saw a tweet from somebody who is like, have you looked at other backup centers in the NBA?
Exactly. That's what we were saying.
Like, no question. And I think that, like I said, I think that, every team needs a little bit of an edge when they play something, different teams. And I really think Dallas's edge is their size. I think that they're just so much bigger. And when one player gets into foul trouble, you get to sub in Daniel Gafford. That's like awesome. It's an awesome advantage, And I think that what they did in the offseason to sort of address a little bit of their versatility issues, I thought that was like really smart. So now, if they play a team like Boston that's running this small, crazy lineup, now it feels like they have a little bit more at full strength, a little bit more of the personnel that could handle that. There's still this issue of what people would say is a point of, sort of the point of attack defender that we lost in Derek Jones Jr. But I mean, that's the weird silver lining of this stretch is you're getting some young guys and you're like, okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe that, if you do need that lockdown defender, maybe you play around with some of the guys that got some time, Kessler Edwards or Omax or whatever. So I really like the roster. I wouldn't really touch it. I mean, the only player that feels a little redundant, if you could get like some defense out of him, is probably Hardy.
I knew he was going to say that.
That has value. I'm just saying that has value. But I like him. It's still this thing where I like him. I guess if you could get a really good like defender, then great. But I don't think if the defender's that good, that teams are going to trade him away for Hardy. So I like the team. That's my long-winded answer of saying I like the team.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. I think the Mavs fans can be impatient at times. I think about little victories. Daniel Gafford and I guess both Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford this year both been scoring more at the rim as far as and not even with lobs. This year the lob has been down for the Dallas Mavericks, and I feel like it's because Luka hasn't been there, and that'll be that'll come back once Luka comes back. But you're actually able to now pass the ball in the post to Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford and trust him to make a play and score on their own.
Dream shake.
Yep. And last year that wasn't involved in our offensive game plan at all. And with them, I can imagine a situation with Al Horford or a Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown against the Celtics this year, where they're actually in the paint and we can actually pass the ball to them and say, score the basketball. That's a walk before you run, before you walk, before you run, whatever. They're crawling right now.
Crawl.
Yeah. So with all that being said, though, when Luka returns, the love will return. But Jason, my question to you is, who's the best basketball player in the NBA?
Ooh, put him on the spot, huh?
Wow. I think it's Jokic. I think it's Jokic. I mean, last night he had a hell of a game, and he, I'm a little like my personal philosophy on basketball is that offense matters just so much more than defense. I do not overplay defense the way that I think a lot of people do in terms of the great players in the NBA. Might be, sort of that my mind might be warped by cheering for Dirk Nowitzki and then Luka Doncic, who two guys are not great defenders at all. But Jokic, I think that's probably the biggest deficiency of his game is people are like, well, he's not a great defender. But the fact that Denver keeps winning with him, I mean, I think I was pretty team Shea on the MVP front. If he closes that gap, it's going to be really hard to vote against him again. As a Mavs fan, I really think that Luka at his peak can do just about anything. And that I'm still like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, based on accolades and statistics, I guess you could just say like Jokic. But if it's a series and it's like Mavs, Nuggets, who is the player I want? I would probably say I want Luka. Like I just think that
I was going to follow up
like a crazy competitor, like just a crazy competitor. But I know that's an unpopular like national opinion. So.
It is, but I was just going to follow up and ask you, well, why is Joker better than Luka? What makes Joker better than Luka?
Here's the argument for him. I'd say he makes a lot of decisions. He's almost like flawless in his decision making, whereas Luka is still a little bit of a showman. Like you could see that in his game. And I think that's what makes him so exciting and awesome. Like I would much rather watch Luka because he is a little bit of like, this is a show. So that's why you're going to be like, if he get like, for example, if Luka gets switched on to him, the best player on the other team, that out of pride, he is going to try something on them.
Right.
That's not Jokic's game, really. Jokic is still going to be thinking, like, what's the smartest shot here? And Luka, most of the time, will think that way. But he does have this sort of showmanship to him that I think causes him to then make some decisions that aren't the best decisions. But as a fan of basketball, I can kind of appreciate, like, if he gets LeBron switched onto him, he's going to try to take LeBron one-on-one. Like he will try to do that. And he can feel the crowd. And so that to me is probably the biggest knock against Luka is that he's not like batting 100 with his decision-making. And Jokic is darn close.
Do you feel like that's like being safe in a way? Like that's kind of how I feel about like Chris Paul and Jason Kidd.
Sure.
Like I feel like Chris Paul is more of the safe bet. He plays more safe in his career. Jason Kidd took more risks. Like I have Jason Kidd higher on my list than Chris Paul. I know folks just forget about Jason Kidd and say, Chris Paul is automatically that. But I think Jason.
That's because people think of Jason Kidd as a coach. Like the player Jason Kidd was my favorite point guard of all time, bro.
And I think with that mindset at times, the safer guy is more of the safer guy still in the playoffs as well. Whereas you get that kind of like Mamba mentality with the other guy that takes risks, so that when those big time moments come up in the playoffs and all, you're like, hey, Luka, if I have Luka, so what if Joker's on the other side? I think Luka can outplay Joker. So I don't know. It's how.
Yeah, it just depends on what your philosophy is on basketball. I mean, like I said, I would still take, like, against the Wolves last year, it's like Luka has a way. Luka can make shots that really, really are demoralizing. Like, you know what I mean?
Soul, man. Yeah.
On this show earlier, basketball is as much as it is a statistical game, it is a mental game. Like, and you can suck the life out of a team if you hit a shot over Rudy Gobert and then scream in their faces. Like, it's a demoralizing feeling in a way that you can't quantify. So like, I hear you on that. I'm just like kind of playing devil's advocate and saying like that is the argument for Jokic. He is also given the benefit of the doubt because he won a championship, and that's just always going to be a reality. But like I said, for this group right here, and generally how I feel, I think that when Luka's playing well, he is the singular like best player. That is just me. I mean, last year's season, I just like, I don't know a player who can like kind of single-handedly do that the way that he did it throughout the entire season. I mean, the Mavs were 500 when they were missing like a lot of their roster in December. There was no Kyrie. He's playing lineups that were just so weird. I mean, he impacts winning in such a significant way. So I'll take Luka. Whatever.
Yeah. I agree with what you said about the whole Luka Jokic thing. That's probably, I didn't even look at it like that. The way you explained the difference between those guys, that's probably 1,000,000% correct. I've always said this, man, since having Luka. If we get to in the big moments, I thank the Lord above we got Luka, because I know this dude is gonna show up when the lights are bright. We saw what he did last year, injured, leading the playoffs in points and rebounds and steals and assists and all that stuff on an injured leg. Just imagine what he would have did if he was 100%. Just want to kind of turn the page here. Well, I'm asking just a real quick question. This is like a real quick one. Do you think that Kyrie's going to be an All-Star this year, because the All-Star votes came out and the All-Star starters have already been announced?
Yeah, I do. I think
Okay.
so. I think it would take something really weird for him to not be. But I think so. I was listening to TNT guys talk about it last night, and I think 2 out of the 3 had them on their ballots. And if it's the reserves, God, they change it every year, so I can't but the reserves are mostly picked by people who play basketball. Like it's players and coaches, right? Is that who selects the reserves?
I think so.
No, I think it's
media,
coaches. I think
the media.
No,
I don't think the media does the reserve.
I don't think it's. I think that it's out of the fans, and if it's players and coaches, he's going to be an All-Star.
Yeah, switching Kyrie's.
Yeah, but I think the fans just do the starters. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, they just do the starters. Correct. So I think if it's up to coaches and players, then he's going to get in. So.
Okay, this is a question I was going to ask you, Jason, because we talked about this last night. I know this is a conversation people want to see. The Thunder first round, they want to fall to the 8th seed, all that stuff. What's a team that you would love to match up with in the playoffs in the first round?
That's a great question. Probably. This is tough, because I don't want to disrespect any team, but I'd probably say Houston.
Okay.
And the reason is they haven't been to the playoffs. So I'm just taking them in, there's no disrespect to their players. This is just taking to the idea that playoffs are overwhelming. You talk to any players in the league, they say the first time you get to the playoffs, it's just like a different animal. You're shocked by the level of physicality. Like, the refs let you get away with more. They're, the energy, the media hype, everything like that, the requirements, like all around it, is all going to be brand spanking new to Houston. Partner that with the fact that I think that they're a great defensive team, and they're really fun to watch, but they don't really have a closer. They don't have an offensive, okay, this is our guy who's going to get us that consistently. And I just would really trust the experience of Luka and Kyrie and this sort of finals experienced Mavs against the Rockets. So that's probably my answer. I mean, Dallas has a really good record against Memphis, and I was tempted to say them, but Memphis at full strength really is pretty good. And they have playoff experience, and, they're deep as hell. So I think my answer is probably, and when I'm also thinking about just the route that Dallas would take if they did play Houston. I kind of like that route a little bit. I like, a team like Denver, as much as I they would be annoying to play. I would not like to play them first round. So yeah, I think that's the matchup I would like. I mean, if it's a perfect world, probably the Wolves right now.
Oh man,
yeah.
The Wolves are not good. I'm just gonna say that.
They're not.
Depleted Mavs, competing against the Wolves. That's a bad sign for the
I would never in my life thought that trading that one player would have really just took that much out of a team, man. That's crazy. Or as far as that kind of player, not like if it was like Luka or Jokic, of course their teams are gonna fall off. But I'm talking about as far as a player like Cat. We all these people talked about how bad Cat was and all this. He can't do this, can't do that. You took that one player off the team, and look where the Wolves are right now. It's crazy.
Trajectory.
That was my prediction. My prediction preseason was that I thought the Wolves were going to fall off, which I look very smart right now. But it was actually a multi-pronged reason. I hated the trade. That was the big one.
Yeah, I didn't understand that trade.
I hated the trade. 2, I think I do think that there was probably a little too much hype for Edwards. Just my take. And now that he's being scouted as much as he
Wait, whoa. Hold on, Jay. So he's not Jordan? What are you trying to tell me?
he might be
okay,
Jordan someday. He's just not Jordan now. And
Yeah, exactly.
We need you over Jordan by now.
Look, Dallas played them in the playoffs last year. They had just gone through Shea. I remember that series. I like walked away from that being like, man, Shea is the real freaking deal. I mean, that they lost, but it was not because of him. I mean, he showed up to every single game. He straight won them. I think one of those games in Dallas. He had this crazy fourth quarter comeback. I mean, he is no joke. And I walked away from that being like, Shea and Luka are kind of on another level. And then Anthony Edwards played him last year. And I remember the national media being like, well, he's really tired. And I'm like, what? You imagine Luka being just tired and what happened, So I was like, okay, I think that Anthony Edwards probably a little overhyped. And then I have this broad basketball theory that you only get a certain amount of seasons of a positive Rudy Gobert experience. And then it starts to turn on you a little bit. And I think we're kind of seeing that too. So it's like you traded you traded Cat, and now you're really like leaning hard on Rudy. And so yeah, it's not really that surprising. And I think they're weirdly an easy team to figure out because Ant just doesn't have the court vision that you can double Ant and be fine. Yep. You know what I mean? You can't really double Shea, you can't really double Luka because they'll pick you apart.
Facts.
Yeah, I said that last year about Ant. We said that in the playoffs last year. Force him to be a playmaker, man. And we saw what happened last year. Okay, can go ahead.
I was going to say, could you imagine Luka needing oxygen and all that? Those reports, that'd be wild.
Oh my God, it would be like all the morning shows would be like, why doesn't he, take better care of his body or whatever? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the pass that he was getting. I was like, he's like 22 years old. What do you mean he's tired? What are you talking about?
Now let me segue to this. As far as Luka, why do you feel, Jason, that he doesn't get maybe the love, or do you feel that he gets the love he deserves from the, I guess, basketball media in general? Because he's been down to a finals, been to 2 conference finals. There are a lot of players in his peer group and like older than him. Shout out to like Embiid that haven't been as far as he. But every year they try to find a way to find another player that's allegedly better than him. When we say on the show that Luka is usually compared to the greats, the GOATs already. Like we don't have to see Luka's statistics anymore. It's about winning and getting hardware now for Luka. Like that's done. But so they compare him to like the best. Where can he get up on the leaderboard as far as the all-time greats? But every year it seems like from the Trae Youngs, and these are great players, the Trae Youngs being compared to him at the beginning, to John Morant being the next guy that's saying, hey, he's the face, he's the next guy, to Anthony Edwards, like you said last year, to being Michael Jordan and all that when Luka.
Devin Booker in the playoffs.
Devin Booker before when they saw it. Even this year now with the Shea Gilders, and no disrespect to Shea, but Shea's a year older than Luka. Shea started in the league averaging 10. Shea just made it to his first playoff round. I think victory was last year. That was the first one he's ever done. And for some reason, the league still tries to find someone else as that next face of the league when it seems like it's right there in front of them and they like don't want to accept it. So do you see it that way, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. One, I think I'll just say the real obvious one. I think the refs thing is bad for his image. So it's not particularly fun to watch. As a fan, it's the number one thing that I wish he would change, because I do think it impacts the game in a negative way. I think that the refs they're humans and they're more inclined to be annoyed by you. I think that's a big one. But I also think there's only 24 seconds in a shot clock. If you spend 1.5 of those seconds, 2 seconds complaining, you're losing time. You're losing time defensively. You're losing time offensively. It's one thing that I really think, and it's not fun to watch. It's not fun if I was not a Mavericks fan, I'd probably really hate it. And I'm a Mavericks fan, and I kind of hate it. So I think that's one thing that it's just bad for his image, and it's annoying. So I think that's one thing, but I think largely, we had Jason Tatum on our podcast, and we kind of asked him the same thing. Now, I don't think that they're the same kind of tier, but what he said, I think, really applies to Luka, which is there's a curse to succeeding early. And the curse is that you're now the expectations for you are so out of whack that you don't even realizing that compared to his peers, he's actually accomplished way more and done way more. Like, and Tatum was sort of saying this. She's like, I went to the finals like second year in the league. Like, I've done all of this stuff and you're just bored. You're just bored with me. And I think it speaks a little bit more to our attention spans. I think it speaks a little bit more to
said it before. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I think with him, with Luka, it's just like I think people are just sort of they've been doing this for what feels like forever already. And the truth of the matter is there's no sane GM in the league that would take just about any other player,
Right.
And like I don't think that's really. I think he will guarantee a very specific amount of wins. He like there's not many players that you can just do that. Even Shea, I love Shea, but like you've seen Shea with some bad rosters and what happens. I mean, they're not great. And I'm glad Shea's found his way. I mean, he's awesome this year. I mean, he has really, really grown into an awesome player. I just think Luka has done it for so long that people are just kind of bored with it. And I think that combined with the fact that he, aesthetically can kind of be annoying. I think that there's like, there's a little bit of like, we don't want that to be the face of the league. We don't want the, if you're thinking about a general NBA audience, people you're trying to attract your league, you're like, this is the face of our league. And then you go and he's like screaming at the refs the whole time. I don't think it's like a great look. So that's probably part of it. But I think it's really just fatigue.
Already.
Do you guys agree with that?
No, go ahead, Relle.
No, I was going to say, so my thing, I agree that he does do that. The only thing is, I feel like a lot of it is magnified by the national media.
Yeah.
Because we see, for example, Ant Edwards has had countless games where he's getting fined for criticizing the referees after games and fussing at the referees during the games and all that stuff. But nobody talks about that. But if Luka looks in the direction of a referee, he gets a technical foul. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the media actually magnifies that so much to the where it's in their psyche. Like, well, everything he does, I'm gonna take him up. It kind of reminds me of how they used to do like Rasheed Wallace. Because the media was constantly putting that out there, like, hey, man, Rasheed Wallace is this. So then when he gets out there in the games, the referees already had that mindset, like, yo, yeah, he's gonna be a problem. Let's take him up if he looks at me funny or whatever, right? Yeah. That's how I kind of feel about Luka, because we saw games where, like I said, I was using an example. Jokic literally went in the referee and just was in his face screaming at him and all that, and the referee was like, oh no, I'm sorry, Jokic, let me just and I'm like, yo, I seen Luka look at a ref. No, I seen Luka yell at one of his teammates, come on, guys, it got a technical foul. And it's like, you got a technical foul because of a reputation that I feel like the national media has like magnified. It's kind of like him not playing defense. I feel like they magnified it so much to the point like they came up with this bogus blow by stat that nobody's ever brought up again. You know what I mean? So
I agree about the defensive thing. The only thing I'll say is that I do think that Luka's kind of dug his own grave a little bit. I went to a lot of those playoff games last year, man. I'm not kidding. There were a few games where it was every single possession.
Oh, I can believe it.
And it's moments like that where you're right. It's like a snake eating its own tail. Then the media starts talking about it. And then even if he improves, that's still the reputation. Because I do think he's improved. The one player, I've always said this, and I remember talking to somebody in the Mavericks, I was like, the one player I wish Luka could talk to and like really get advice from is Shaq. Because he is point guard Shaq to me. In that he does get fouled just about every single possession. So did Shaq. But they can't foul out the entire other team. Otherwise we wouldn't have a basketball game. So he does have to figure out a way to absorb contact and keep his head down and keep playing the way that Shaq did. I mean, you guys probably remember like every possession Shaq was getting fouled. There was no question about it. And I feel that way about Luka. He's getting bumped. I mean, the things they let Lou Dort do to him last year was like pretty wild. So I don't really blame him for getting angry at it. It's just a matter of like it's like screaming at a wall. It's like there's nothing you can do about that, man. So and that's probably my number one thing that I wish Jason Kidd was just a little better at, was getting on the refs' asses.
Yep. You said that too.
When it comes to him getting, hit and whatever. I think that if that were happening, maybe we'd see less of that from Luka. But
I think that maybe comes from his old reputation as far as trying to stay away from that as well, just trying to save face. But I agree about the Luka thing. I say that all the time, Jason, actually, about the Shaquille O'Neal type comparison.
Yeah,
it's hard. Every time it's basically a foul. It's the same thing with Luka Doncic. He has to understand that he's going to get fouled all the time. You're one of the best at scoring and ones, so you're just going to score. Like that's just the way you are. Get to your spot.
Unstoppable force.
You're unstoppable, yeah. But even like you said earlier about the defense being they over exaggerate that. When I said the whole Joker Luka comparison, I technically think Luka's a better defender than Joker. And I don't know if whenever I ask folks that question, they're always like, no, I don't know. And I just don't get it, because I've seen games, and I don't want to single people out, but I've seen games where like Russell Westbrook, who scored that game when it was a Scoot Henderson or with Anthony Simons, wasn't it?
Yeah, Anthony Simons, yeah.
And Joker was right at the rim, but I've heard a lot of media members give him an excuse where he should have went and saw his player, been on some other player. Joker was under the rim where he was supposed to be going to his player or some other player. And I'm like, he's the center. If that was Derek Lively or Gafford or somebody, you'd expect them, if they're under the rim, to go stop the play. And it's the last play. You can't do anything else but score. You can't even pass the ball out. But Joker seems to get more of a pass when that situation happened. I watched earlier in the season when there was a mishap with Luka on the sideline with the Utah Jazz game, and the coaches were doing that. And when somebody went past him, John Collins, and made a dunk, it was all over. Luka, look what he did, and all this and all. So I don't know. It just seems like maybe from a Mavs opinion, or maybe because we're Mavs fans, that things are magnified because of Luka. Because when I see Luka actually get into a lockdown position and give effort, I've seen Luka lock guys down. I've seen Luka make guys like LeBron James to pick up their dribble at times. I've seen Luka like
you ain't talk about the KD guarding KD.
Yeah, guarding KD at moments and making them stop their dribble. No, like if Luka actually, he's one of the smartest guys in the NBA as far as IQ. So he, even if it isn't about speed and going laterally, he can know where you're going as far as the next play if he studies you, so he can know where to go. So when I see Luka doing that type of stuff, it's never like applauded in a way. It's just always magnified, that these moments, like last year in the playoffs, he had a busted knee. His knees were bleeding literally. He was going to the playoff. That we always say that's probably his worst playoff performance of his career, and it's his best playoff performance as far as getting to the finals. But they don't talk about that. They blow by percentage was brought up. You feel me? Like, and then last night, Jason Kidd made it a point to attack Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams, and blow by percentages for Kessler Edwards as far as going by Shai. Blow by percentages as far as PJ Washington going by Shai. Anybody, like, they were deciding to go at this guy, but nobody calls out those. It's just like a stat that doesn't exist unless it's for Luka Doncic. And I don't know. So
I mean, that's that. Look, I've been on this crusade. I've tried to chill out on it, and I've tried.
I was just about to say, Jason, I heard you on the Kurt show. You was going in, man. I enjoyed it.
I think last year, him not being taken more seriously as an MVP candidate. Look, I don't even think he needed to win, but the utter dismissal of his candidacy was like truly an abomination. I believe it, and it felt really good that he got to the finals above all these other MVP candidates, because that's what Dallas fans were trying to scream the entire time, was like, dude, he's taken like his. You know, one thing I remember, JJ had this whole monologue on one of our podcasts where he talks about how in-season trades, they just don't work because they don't work in a significant way if it's a significant portion of your starting lineup, because it takes a long time for teams to get together. It's like, no, you have to have like an engine that is so forward moving that it works. And Dallas like made this massive trade in the middle of the season. And then they went to the finals. They didn't have a training camp. They probably had a total of less than 10 practices together. But that's the kind of player Luka is. And I'll tell you one thing, man. Without him, it's crazy. I remember we had Derek Lively on the pod. He was like, man, he puts the ball right on the dot. It's crazy. And have you seen how many lobs have gotten blown up from Dallas because guys just can't put it right there, you know? It's amazing. But back to my earlier point, I do think that he doesn't really get that sort of respect that I think that he should get. And when it came to the defensive thing, I think it was really overblown. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he doesn't have lapses in judgment, or he's not he's not the best off ball or help defender. But there's a clip from Paul George's podcast that I remember where Paul George is like, do you guys realize how much effort and energy it takes to be that good on offense and to be that much of an important factor on offense, than to expect that player to be that
a lockdown defender,
defender on defense? The fact that he's as good a one-on-one defender as he is pretty great this season. And I think a lot of that is why is a little bit full circle moment. Why I really like this roster is it allowed Luka to he played a little bit more off ball earlier in the season. He wasn't so ball dominant to where he was expending all of this energy on offense and coming back. And, like I liked the fact that he was a little bit more locked in on defense. So anyways, that's that. I really think that the defense thing is overblown. I don't know if he's better than Jokic or who's better. It's kind of hard to say. They both kind of have those moments where you go like, what was that? But I think that people just make a huge, and that's the thing about, that's why I don't care that he's not all NBA this season. I don't care that he's not an all-star. He needs to get a ring so people can start talking about him. Probably. That's it.
I agree, man. I agree. Guys, it's funny you said that. Now you're looking at it in a mature way, Jason. You understanding that, hey, his numbers are dipped a little bit because he's playing off ball, and other guys are getting theirs now. Yeah. You got national media guy like, what happened? Why's the numbers falling? Are you watching the games? If you actually watch the games, you would know why his numbers are falling. I mean, it's crazy to me how I'm gonna get your opinion on the national media, bro. Like, what do you? It's not even just the Mavericks. You don't have to be just the Mavericks, because we know guys from other channels who cover other teams who complain about the national media. What is your opinion, man, about how the national media covers sports today compared to back then, man?
I mean, I don't know about compared, but they're not good. If I were the NBA, I would have a serious look in the mirror when it comes to who my partners are. TNT, I'll just start with TNT. TNT's awesome. Maybe not for like in-game analysis, but they're an entertaining show. So that's what they are, and they're funny. It's like they're the best. I mean, like, look, I love them. I like watch them all the time. They're just funny. Like that to me, that's it. And when it comes to like interpersonal dynamics, I think they can give really good insight. But when it comes to like, do I want their analysis on the Mavs? No.
Right.
Doesn't watch the Mavs. Like I wouldn't if I was Charles, so whatever. But it's the ESPNs of the world that I think really fail, because it's really sensationalized. It's really finding problems with things. It's really it's a tough thing too, because unfortunately the general audience is just attracted to negativity for some reason. I noticed this on our YouTube channels. JJ says something negative about something, it's going to get billion times more clicks and views than if he's like, man, the Orlando Magic have been awesome this season. You know what I mean? And I think that there's something to just the audience, like likes a little drama. They like a little manufactured drama. And so I don't know, but I still think that the ESPNs of the world are doing a massive disservice. And you look at something like the way that the media talks about the NFL, it's so much better. It's not even close. And it's like, and I watch like, what's the ESPN? Is it NFL Live?
I think NFL Live, I think.
Yeah. Like they talk about schemes. They respect positions. They talk about these things that are so like X's and O's. It's almost like a more respected sport.
Yes.
I understand that their strategy or whatever, but the NBA, their strategy, there's all this stuff. And it's like, it doesn't get talked about to that degree. And I don't know why. And they just run segment after segment about what's wrong with the NBA. I was watching the other day, and like Stephen A went off about how he they should cancel the All-Star weekend. And I'm like, this is a publishing partner of yours. What is happening? You have a publishing partner saying they should cancel a thing that you put a lot of money and effort into. Maybe you don't like it, but that's insane to me. So I think the national media sucks right now. And I think it sucks in a massive way and has for the last few years. And there was like I remember having a conversation with JJ because I thought he was quite good. And he was like, there was a little part of him was like that. There's a responsibility that he felt because of how bad the national media was. But you know, I don't know. I mean, like, you know, the show that I do, Mind the Game, like I felt like was such a success because there was such a void. That obviously LeBron helps with success. But
just a little bit.
At the same time, like the whole thesis of the podcast was just like, let's celebrate the game. That's it. I mean, and I don't feel like there's enough celebration. I don't feel like there's enough like you know, praising the Houstons, the Memphises of the world, these that are like really putting in work. You know, Orlando surviving without Paolo. Like it's there's some really cool storylines, and if you can't figure out how to sell this league in a positive way, then you suck at selling things. That's like even people are like, man, nobody wants Jokic to be the face of the league. What are you talking about? Like, just figure it out. Figure it out. Program your games better. Like all of that stuff. Like the Christmas Day games. I was so annoyed by that lineup. I was like, how can you not have the Thunder on Christmas Day? They're the best team in the West, and they didn't come out of nowhere, but it's like this prioritization of saying like, well, the Lakers have to be on, the Knicks have to be on. And it's like,
right.
I get it, but the NFL would never do that. The NFL, if they've got like marquee games, they're gonna be like, it's going to Buffalo, New York, and Kansas City, Missouri. Like they don't care about market size. They really prioritize good product. And I really hope that the NBA in their new sort of NBC deal, Amazon deal, stuff like that. Oh man, I really hope that they have good stuff. So, anyways, that's my long-winded.
No, you good, Jess. You preaching over here, man. Everything you said, everything you literally said. I swear we've been saying this, man. Yeah, I've been saying this. Oh my bad. Go ahead, King. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I didn't even think they had Giannis on Christmas, did they?
Nope. Remember we talked about that. They didn't have Giannis on, like Jason said. They didn't have OKC.
Yeah, OKC or Milwaukee. That's wild.
No, yeah.
And it's all because they really prioritize market size. I was listening to a really smart podcast. My old employer, Bill Simmons, had a guy named Chuck Klosterman on. Chuck Klosterman's working on a book right now about the culture, the way that the NFL has shaped America's just culture at large. And he said, he was like, I used to think that a weakness of the NFL was that you didn't get to know the players, but I actually now think it's a strength. And I actually think it works to its advantage because they really just pound you with the team colors and the team and the team and the team and the team. And it's like that's all you care about. You could actually interchange the players, but it doesn't matter because it's about that team. It's about that team. And there's probably a little bit of that with the NBA where it's like, okay, we don't have a Michael, a Kobe. LeBron's fading a little bit. I mean, I say that he's awesome, but you know, he's not his peak. And it's sort of like, and so to make up for that lack of like star, you know, superstar level player, they're going to manufacture all these storylines that are really obnoxious. And that's what I feel like is happening right now is that like there's a natural dip in sort of like really compelling NBA characters for some reason. They don't know how to sell them. So they just fall. It's easier to fall to negativity. And that's what they've done.
I mean, we can go ahead, Relle. You got something to say?
No, I was just gonna say David Stern made it look easy, man. Yeah. He had a motto, man. And he stuck with it, man. That's why the NBA was so successful back in those days. Because I've said this a million times, Jason, which literally what you just said. I said this on the show a million times. I don't understand why the NBA is taken as a joke as far as how they're covering the NBA compared to the NFL. And I use the NFL as an example all the time. I can go on any channel, like you said, ESPN, NFL Live, or NFL Network or whatever, and they cover those games and teams and stuff, the sport in general, a whole lot different than what the NBA does. But then people are wondering why the product is failing. It's like, there you go right there.
And I think Adam Silver's partially to play. I really believe it. It's like,
he is.
There's a world where David Stern just allows I don't think there's a world where David Stern allows that over and over again. He goes to his partners and he's like, "Shut the hell up! Like this is enough." And I think that, man, I really think that like Adam Silver in the last 3 months has talked about how they're going to address the 3-point problem. I'm like, why are you calling it a problem? This is my earlier take, was that I think Adam Silver is a little too online. I think he reads like every little complaint on Twitter and then feels like he's got to address it. And it's like, just stop, man. Just stop. The game is what it is. Start celebrating it or whatever. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to the 3-point line? Like, maybe it's, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate him trying to make the game better, but by him saying we're going to fix the 3-point problem, it's basically him saying the game is broken. We know. Yep. It's like, stop acknowledging that. Roger Goodell would never do that. Ever. Nope.
The game evolves. I don't know why people understand that. But
yeah, if you want to do it, if you want to fix it, do it quietly. Don't say that your game is broken. Like that is cool.
Hey, everybody. We're fixing the 3.
Yeah, it's like, hey, if next season you want to get rid of 3-point, defensive 3 seconds in the lane or whatever, just do it. Don't talk about it.
Right.
Like, don't make this big thing. Like, I don't know.
We can go. You want to ask the Glow y'all some questions, bro?
Yeah, let me get some of these super chats out the way here, real quick.
But before that, I feel like the NBA, to piggyback off of what Jason just said, the NBA is behind on how they sell themselves.
Yeah.
So they're always trying to push, so there are a bunch of players all over right now. And usually, like, the NBA was behind a little bit in the Golden State Warriors market. Like, usually the NBA, you have to win championships and start being a dynasty or whatever for the NBA to say, hey, look at these guys. They are the team. Instead of taking a chance and following actually your guys and actually promoting them and saying, hey, these guys are about to be next or whatever like that.
Like they did Jordan.
Yes, like you do Jordan, where like instead of doing it, and I feel like ESPN and the national media in a way, instead of highlighting new markets and making new markets bigger markets, they keep trying to push players to the markets they want them to be in. The LA Lakers, the New York
or whatever.
You feel me? Like certain markets. So it's like, at what point will things get dysfunctional where they want to go to the Lakers or where they want to go to the Knicks instead of saying, well, let's highlight what the Mavericks are doing or let's highlight what the Grizzlies are doing or whatever.
The Thunder, again, like they not only are they good right now, they have like clearly the brightest future. I mean, they have like a big draft picks. They in this sort of second apron new CBA type stuff, they are far and away the team that is best equipped to handle that, because a lot of these teams are going to have to make really hard decisions. Dallas is going to be one of them, and they're going to have to make these really hard decisions. And Oklahoma City could theoretically say, okay, we got to get rid of these 3 players, but we're going to bump up these 3 players. And like, they are in such a good place. The fact that they're sitting here right now and they have the decision on whether to stand pat, or they could very easily go trade for Cam Johnson or very easily go trade for whoever they want. Like, they're in good shape. And if I was the league, I'd be preparing for that. I'd be figuring out a way to sell that team, because they're going to be in the consciousness of the NBA audience for, I think, generously, like a decade. I really believe.
Yeah, I was just about to say that too.
Whether or not they win a championship, I don't know, but they're going to be
in there
for a long time. So figure it out, because you can't avoid them. Like, Sam Presti did too good of a job. Somebody in the chat mentioned the refs, and I do actually think that the refs are a problem.
You want to know? You just want to get to the segment?
Yeah, let me get to. Oh, my bad. Thank you, King. That's why you're on the show. Okay. Get to the Glow Yard real quick. Now we can get to it. Try Bammy. He's a new member of the channel, man. Welcome, my Try Bammy. Welcome.
Appreciate you, Try.
Man. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Big J, of course, he's a Glow Yard member. Says, even with the recent improvement, I am only looking to move Maxey. I think Hardy brings much needed scoring.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that what I'll say is that Maxey at full strength, the Maxey provides like a really good, well-needed flexibility. Again, it's about matchup variance to me, and it's about what kind of basketball can you play and how many different versions of basketball can you play. And I think that that's always been Dallas's strength for the last year and a half or so, is that they can roll out all sorts of lineups. And I think what Maxey provides is that if you play a smaller line or you need to adapt, I mean, theoretically, Maxey's kind of our flex, backup for, third string center.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I always think about there's not many better people that down on the rotation to go for. So I personally last time was a really good example. Maxey still can be utilized in a really smart way. He can be frustrating when they overlean on him, but I think at full strength, they don't overlean on him. So I think recently it's been frustrating at times, but it's ideally he's not that person for the Mavs. So I like Maxey. I like the versatility he gives the roster as a whole. And I think without him, Dallas had been really, really small during this stretch, and that's tough. So I don't know. I do still like Maxey. That's my take. Frustrating out of me, just for the record. But
one word, Jason: confidence. I need Maxey to continue. The last 2 games, I've seen confidence from Maxey Kleber. It seems like he's out there trying to shoot the ball. As long as he's confident, I'm fine with Maxey.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, man. We got Logan with the $5 dono. He says, question to Jason. He says, do you think sports analysts have bias? He said, and is it good for the sport as a whole? As a Mavs fan, Luka got scolded when he had 73 points.
Of course there's a bias. Of course there's a bias. And I think what's particularly frustrating is that there's a bias. There's a bias from all sorts of folks. I'll go back to last season. The 73 point thing was a joke. Especially the way he scored 73 points. He did it, on an incredibly efficient night.
Stupid efficient.
It didn't take that many free throws. It didn't take, I read somewhere that if you took away his free throws, he's still scoring over 60. It was a phenomenal night. And for him to be the catalyst for, hey, what's wrong with the NBA, shows a bias. I really believe it does. And then last year's MVP race as a whole was very, very it was illuminating for a number of reasons. It was clarifying for me that I want the MVP vote to go back to being private, because I think there's a little bit too much groupthink in NBA discourse. So
yep.
So I think you got your national media people like the Stephen A's, the Perkins. They're just looking for engagement. I kind of don't even take them seriously at this point. And, I think they're always trying to look for what's wrong with players versus what's right. And so they're always going to focus on the negativity. And if you win a ring, they'll give you a pass. It's a very simple formula for the national media. Now it's the underbelly. It's sort of the people that aren't big faces, but they're good writers or they're good analysts or whatever. And that's the group that gets into severe groupthink mentality. I've shared this on other shows, but I was having a conversation with an MVP voter literally last year who said they would have voted for Luka, but they didn't want that out there. So voted for Jokic.
That's crazy,
man. And that is that's a dead ass real conversation I had with somebody. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, man, but do you blame them a little bit? Because look, these are people's careers on the line. And what's funny about media is that it's as you're trying to succeed in your career, and voters are kind of all over the spectrum. So it's the person that you hope to work with someday, or people that are probably dictating other people's jobs, are voters. And then you have these bloggers that probably aren't making very much money or whatever, that are trying to get to that level. So what do you naturally do? You try to impress them with your takes. You try to be on the same page with them. And yes, you run the risk of beat writers voting for their own guys or whatever. And there's not a perfect way to do it. But I just think that we're in the era of groupthink, clearly across the board, not just sports. That I think it's oh man, I don't they do that NBA straw poll, and it's like Jokic is the clear winner, and it's like, well, now all the beat writers are going to just sort of think alike, and manufacture analytics to and blow by percentages and stuff like that to back up their point. And somebody asked me the other day, can you have a bias in analytics? And I think, well, absolutely you can, because analytics only tell a part of the story, but they tell a part that you want to tell. So you can absolutely manufacture analytics to back up your point. But anyway, but it's like, I always say to people, Dirk versus KG is an argument that gets brought up a lot. And I always tell people, if you want to win a Twitter argument, have KG. If I want to win a real basketball series, I'll take
Bidness
all
day. I remember watching his career, the careers. It's no disrespect to KG, Jason. There were moments where they were asking, is he's a real number one? Does he want to take that last second shot? I remember that. Against Dirk and all that. It's really, to me, they underachieved with Dirk. I feel like getting Dirk one ring was really an underachievement by the Dallas Mavericks for all those years, for being 50 wins. I think they had the second best record of the decade in 2000s behind the San Antonio Spurs, even more than the LA Lakers or whatever. And they only got one ring out of that. So that's kind of like a disservice to Dirk. And he was averaging 30 and 10 in the playoffs. It wasn't like he was failing the Dallas Mavericks at all. So it is what it is. But if you go on Twitter and we want to add defense to offense and all that stuff and numbers and, you feel me, more rebounds here or whatever, then it becomes KG as the guy by far. So
yeah, but it's like, no, I want to win the basketball game. So I'll take Dirk. They played one-on-one, and that's like, what more could you say? They played one-on-one. As great as defense as KG plays, it doesn't matter when the offense is that good.
Facts.
We got Big J with another $5 dono. It's just the NBA problem is that they can't get past LeBron, Steph, and KD. They keep featuring 37-plus old players that are already retired.
I think I agree with that. It's the Warriors were on Christmas Day, right?
Yes.
There's no need for that. And look, that they were. Look, that was a great era, like a really great, fun, awesome era. I understand the want to keep that, keep that alive a little bit, especially, given that your possible best player in the league is a guy who doesn't really seem to want to be in the spotlight. Like Jokic is a quiet guy. Shea is a quiet guy. Luka, I think, is a perfect guy to feature. I actually think that Anthony Edwards is pretty fun. And I would feature him a lot. But yeah, I think that they need to, I think that the LeBron, Steph, and KD area is coming to a close, but I don't disagree, Big J, but
perfect example, Jason. What did David Stern do? Did he stick with Magic and Bird all the way until they retired? No, he ended up shifting his attention to Michael Jordan, and that kept the momentum going for the league.
Yeah.
And so that's my
number one, because first off, I fully believe they should just run a straight All-Star game. Stop trying to mess with the formats. But it got me thinking of, because they keep messing with formats, I'm like, well, what format would I like? And I've decided this would be my idea. If we had to do another format, it would be over 30 versus under 30 All-Star game. And 30 is like a really interesting number because Embiid falls on the over 30, Jokic falls on the under. And I think for as much as the younger team is really good, the older team is can win a game. You know what I mean? And if you put LeBron, Steph, KD, Chris Paul, these guys, that's a good team. And they're prideful, and they would, I really think that there's that could be a really, really fun version of an All-Star game if you had to do something different.
And I think they play hard too, just because of the age thing. Hey, Jason, I think
KD would want to whip their ass, no question about it. I don't know if I
listen. Anything that'll get them to play better, man, I'm for it, man. I just want them to play better. I miss the old days, man. I remember that too. The earliest, probably the newest one I remember from back in the days, probably that 2003 All-Star game with Michael Jordan, and they played tough in that game, man. So
yeah,
I kind of miss those days.
Is that Kobe's first? There was whatever the one that was like Kobe's first All-Star.
Well, no, not that one. The Jordan's last
one after the Wizards.
Very last. Yeah, the Wizards. He shot the game winner, then Kobe messed it up and made the shot or whatever.
But I just like that he was like I don't want this guy to be the next. Like he took like Jordan took like a ton of pride in the All-Star game. It would be like,
oh yeah, right.
He didn't want to let Kobe do anything. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we got we also run Playback, and we stream a lot of the old school basketball games.
Oh, cool.
And we streamed a couple of the All-Star games back in the day, like the 90s, like the 96 and 97 or whatever. And we showed the people like they used to play hard like this during the All-Star game. Like it was a pride thing. Like, hey, I'm constantly hearing about this guy being better than me. Guess what I'm about to do? This is a perfect opportunity for me to show that I'm better than him.
Yep.
And the guys nowadays, like, it's just another check. I mean, we get a week off. I just want to kind of cruise, just get ready for the second half of the season. Nobody takes it serious anymore.
I think that is also a little bit of, that is definitely the issue. Like an issue with like, hey, why isn't Luka the face of the league? Well, Luka's never going to give a shit about an All-Star game. Like he's just never going to care. Neither's Jokic. Shea might, but yeah.
Only one I think I've seen probably Giannis.
Yeah. Giannis loves the All-Star game.
I know. Russ, when he used to make it, loved the All-Star game. Yeah.
I got another one more here. Home Malate with the $5 Canada dollars. He says, first of all, welcome, Jason. He said, your thoughts on Omax. He said, did you see him as a key piece of the Mavs future if developed nicely? Shout out to Relle and King. Shout out to Omax. Well, shout out to Omax too, but shout out to Latte, man.
Appreciate you, Latte.
I think he's gonna be a future piece. I believe that because like I said, the CBA is going to have to force Dallas to make some decisions that are not easy, and it's going to be like incumbent on these teams to develop these types of players. Yep. And I think Omax is, again, last night was like a really promising game. Like, he was just really weird. Like the player, this is no comparison, but there was like he had like a Marion kind of vibe. Like he was just like really kind of like cutting really hard to the basket, making a lot of like really good decisions, played really hard on defense. Like I said, just was like, it was like almost like he was like, I'm going to be the best athlete out there. And I love that mentality. And it was just confusing. And I feel like that's what I meant by Marion. It's just like sometimes Marion's game is just like confusing. You're like, what kind of player is this? Like his shot's ugly, is like, whatever. But I really think that Omax can be a pretty, key contributor. I think the dream is for him to be a better version of Maxey. Like I think that is the dream. So we'll see. And I hope he continues to develop and his confidence goes up. It felt like, we sat right behind the bench and it felt like guys were really, really like building him up and really like proud of him. There was a lot of like positive energy around Omax last night. It was cool to see.
I'm telling you, Jason, man, this is like you just said with this new CBA and how teams got to construct their teams. That's why the draft is very, 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 very important. You gotta get the draft right.
Draft and development is just going to be
very important.
And that's where Oklahoma City, to their credit, they crush that development stuff. And
they got a head start on that too. So
yeah. Let me get a couple of these in row. Let me get in the show. Let me see. Big J again. Appreciate you, Big J. He said, I think Luka is better than Joker because he has the Jordan A-hole mentality, and Joker doesn't have that in him, in his opinion.
It definitely makes him more fun to watch. I'll just say that. The NBA is really weird. Teams are really, really smart, and that's what makes what Jokic does so valuable. You know what I mean? Like
Joker's incredible.
Yeah. It's just like the teams are just so smart. They're so spaced well, and him being able to sort of manipulate space and everything like that. I mean, it's just something that, it's just something that's like, it is really impressive, and he deserves all the flowers in the world for the way that he plays. I think that like at the end of the day, I would just rather watch Luka play. I would rather. I was like, I was a Mavs fan growing up my whole life, but like I was obsessed with Kobe, like obsessed. And man, he won the finals. I think he shot 6 for 24, or it was some horrible percentage, but he like wills the win. And I feel like Luka has that kind of like, I'm gonna will this win, and it's just a more enjoyable. Like again, some of the best playoff memory. Like I don't even. No shots, but I don't really remember much from like Jokic's championship run. Like I can't even really think of a play. And it's like with Luka, you're gonna get that switch Rudy Gobert onto me at the top of the key, and I'm gonna create an all-time playoff moment. That's the showmanship that I really, really love. And it's a little old school, and it's like honestly my preferred brand of basketball. I like it.
I agree. Man, Jason, I'm telling you, if I would have told you that Luka lost a game 7 at home with a 20-point lead, he'd be all over ESPN.
They would have been cooking.
Always the best player, but
that's why we need to get him that. That's why he needs to get that ring at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, the pass that you get, and like the pass that you get is pretty crazy. It is what it is. I mean, you saw that. You're seeing that this year. Like Jokic has made up a lot of ground. So you can't really say the standings thing anymore. There was a time where he was 8th in the standings, and NBA.com was still being like, he's number 1 in our MVP ladder. I'm like, dude, you guys outright dismissed Luka when he was the 5th seed. Like, come on now.
Now, if Joker gets that top seed, like a number 2 seed or something, this is definitely an MVP season. Like, this is probably his best season ever, in my opinion. So,
Jokic?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's hard to argue if the Thunder. Man, if they lose like 10 games, that's tough. And and the thing about Shea, man, this is one of those, like, the numbers say a lot, but like I watch a lot of Thunder games. I watch a lot in person. He is their rock in a way that would completely fall apart without him. Like, and he's that good this year. It's a tough year. It's a really tough year because he's got, like, Shea's a little old school too, in that, okay, fourth quarter, great, I'm gonna get a mid-range shot off, and it's fun to watch. Like, I like his brand of basketball.
I agree. Frank says he's a Glow Yard member as well. He says, I think in the playoffs, games slow down, and I think you need more killers taking over the games than team-friendly offense because the pressure is high, and it's a race of who breaks first. Good point,
Frank. I completely agree, and it's why I still like Dallas in a series against Oklahoma City. Here's why. Oklahoma City is going to beat. I think Oklahoma City would beat like Cleveland. I think that it would be really close against Boston. They say they play very similar brands of basketball.
Yeah, we said that last year.
Dallas has 2 players they have multiple players that can play pretty good isolation ball. One of the holes that I thought Oklahoma City did not fill this season. They got bigger, they got longer. I was like, actually, like, if I were them, I would try to get like a cheap playmaker. I would try to get a Dennis Schroeder. I would try to get somebody who can generate offense by themselves. Because last night was a great example. Jalen's close, but it feels like he's not there sometimes. And
I said that last night.
Last year's playoffs, he was not great. And it was up to Shea to generate all the offense. And Dallas exploited that. Dallas, on the other hand, they could kick it to Luka, Kyrie. Even Spencer has that ability, and now PJ's gaining that confidence. Grimes is gaining that confidence. I think that, again, Dallas can play that team basketball really well, but when the game slows down and when it's like me versus you, Dallas has these guys that can really, really score.
I agree. He also
got no super chat, King.
Sure. I'm sorry.
TGK TV, man. He's a super chat.
I know.
He is it's still early for me. He's a Glow Yard member. $2 dono. He said, I blame Tim Bontemps for the NBA MVP discord.
I like Tim. I know Tim. It's really interesting. I actually would love to interview him someday because, look, Tim's been around he's been around forever, right? And I think that this MVP straw poll that he does was genuinely a thing that he was curious about. So
Right.
As a journalist, he was like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to poll people, see how they vote throughout the year. What it's sort of become is this weird self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, oh, that's the way it's going to go. Well, then that's the way it's going to go. And I would be so curious about what he feels about what his straw poll has become, because I'll tell you one thing. It's too valuable of a product for for ESPN for them to throw away, because it offers a ton of engagement. People talk about it, people click on it, and you can't get rid of it. So I would love to talk to him and be like, what's your feeling about the straw poll now? Because it's not journalism anymore. It's like a really weird I don't even know what to call it, but I would be willing to bet that he did not intend for it to become this thing that it's become. But that's just me. I really do think that the straw poll sucks now. I think it's.
I think a lot of people do, Jason.
Yeah,
really do.
Let me get a couple new people in there real quick. Gina Kim, Glow Y'all member, says, morning, guys. Can we talk about how bad Kyrie whistle is? I've seen guys like Dame Brunson and other smaller guys get their calls, unlike Kyrie, who was tackled, and they don't want to give it to him.
Yeah, Gaffer said something about it. Gaffer said it after one of the games that he just get more calls. So
I think
the rest yeah, his are really weird because he's so quick. Guys like really do put their hands like full on, whereas like Luka's fouls are like a lot of body to body, so whatever. But Kyrie is literally like they're trying to keep him in front of him, and it's like you can get a call. I don't know, man. And he's like he's so polite to the refs too. I don't know why they don't respect him more.
That's great point too.
He stays polite to the refs through it. Tyler. He's a Glow Yacht member as well. He said, the one thing I dislike about some NBA talk shows / podcasts is that Luka isn't a winner when all he does or did was win a EuroLeague, and I don't understand that point.
Yeah, it's those are people that we that suck at talking about basketball. I don't know what to say. I don't know how you say it.
I got this saying, Jason, I don't talk sports with everybody, man. You can't do it.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know, man. I don't know how you can say he's not a winner. I mean, and it's also one of the biggest frustrations I've had in the last few years is that people are like really criticizing, the way he plays and how he, this and his conditioning and blah, blah, blah. And like, look, whatever. But the guy like had sort of been playing nonstop basketball for like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Longer than that.
He just loves the game. And I thought that's what we wanted to celebrate about basketball is that he clearly loves the game. He will play through injury when it's not smart. He will play for his national team when it's not smart. He will play just about any opportunity to play basketball. He'll take it. And it's just like really funny. I remember like it was FIBA like maybe 2 years ago, and he was playing for his national team. And like some national writer was like talking about how he didn't like that Luka like did something like it was like, oh, he's yelling at the refs. I was like, shut up, man. Like he is literally playing basketball for free for the Slovenia national team because he loves it. Would you stop complaining about literally everything? Anyways. Yeah.
That's
almost.
Gentlemen, I have a meeting in like 2 minutes, but we can do another question if you got any more.
Yeah, let me get this one more super chat in. TG Chaos will send another one in. He says, can you share your experience watching Game 2 of the NBA Finals of 2011?
Oh my gosh, guys! My son was grounded last week for a week. He wasn't allowed to watch TV unless it was something that myself or his mother picked. And I made him watch the 2011 Mavs championship DVD. I was like, this is your punishment. You have to watch this with your father.
That don't sound like no punishment to me, but yeah. No.
I know, I'm telling you. But I'm saying like that game 2 was one of the greatest. It almost felt like an out-of-body experience. I remember I was at a bachelor party, but we were all Mavs fans, so we found a place to watch it. And it just felt really crappy. And I remember like in the fourth quarter, we're like, oh, should we leave? And they'd already lost in game 1, and it just felt like shit. And we were like, oh man, this sucks. And then that seeing them dance, like it was just like one of those things like, should we shut this off? Because this is infuriating to watch. And then that run, man, that is
oh man, yeah.
I'll never forget that. Like I went to the Thunder Jazz game on Wednesday, and Jason Terry's an assistant Jazz coach, which I did not know.
Yeah.
And man, I was like starstruck, all because of like this one championship run. I was like, that's the king right there. I was so like hyped, man. What a game. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was a great game.
Out of body. When the Mavs won the championship, by the way, I've shared this before, but I drank a little bit too much.
Oh man.
I was living in Chicago. All my friends like that weren't Mavs fans, they like doused me with champagne. It was super fun. But then dude, I went on NBA.com and I spent like $1,000 worth of dumb stuff.
Oh man.
My wife the next morning, I was like, I'm so sorry. And we did not have that kind of money. And I was like, I bought like 3 mouse pads that said like, so I was like, dude,
you need that, man. You need that.
It's probably worth something now, but
no,
Jason,
it's definitely not.
Before we go, Jason, appreciate you being on the show and all that. Talk about yourself real quick, man. Plug yourself. What are you up to right now? Awesome work that you do. Let everybody know about you before you get off here. We appreciate you, but go ahead. The floor is yours.
What am I plugging? The Young Man and the Three. Great podcast that I'm working on. We have a really cool episode next week, like really, really cool. Published a Ben Simmons episode today. A lot of people do not like Ben Simmons, I have discovered through the comments. But I still think it was a worthwhile conversation. Cam Johnson was the interviewer, and he's very, very, very smart, and he's good. I'm also working on a possible return to Mind the Game. We'll see. Keep an eye out on that. And then that's all I got, man. Subscribe to this channel, everybody. That's another plug. Here we go.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Listen, man, we definitely, like King said, we definitely appreciate you, man, joining us. Listen, we appreciate the members, of course. We also appreciate the people who subscribe to the channel. So if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Join us here for all Mav conversations. Also, too, man, everybody get the likes up tonight, man. Let's get those likes up. Once again, it helps build the algorithm up, guys, and it doesn't cost you anything. So let's get the likes up. Follow Jason. I have his Twitter information down in the description box below, guys. I can follow him, follow his work. Like he says, he does Young Man in the Three. You guys can subscribe to that channel, too, also here on YouTube. So, guys, follow all his work. We'll be back here tomorrow after the Mavs play the Boston Celtics, y'all. Oh, man, matter of fact, King, we should have told them we got something new coming up here. We'll be setting up that.
Yeah, I know.
I forgot about it, man. But follow us on our socials, y'all. We'll post something about it on our socials. We completely forgot about it. We're gonna start it tomorrow. So, but yeah, listen, man. With all that being said, man, it is your boys Relle and King. We talk Mavs. We talk Dallas Mavs from a fan's perspective. We'll be back here tomorrow, guys. Same Mav time, same Mav channel. Go Mavs. And we out, y'all.
Peace.